In November of 2023, the Swell Pod took a 10-day journey across 5 states, traveling 3,580 miles with one challenge in mind.
And that challenge was to interview 100 pleasantly rebellious humans to uncover deep truths about what it takes to create something that has never existed before, challenge the status quo, maybe even change the world.
This is the Kiln Road Trip, created and produced by the Swell Pod.
In partnership with Kiln, Moterra Camper Vans, and sponsored by Taurus.
I'm Spencer McKeown.
And I'm Josh Taylor, and together we're the co-hosts of the Swell Pod and your guides on the Kiln Road Trip. Follow along on the journey.
Be sure to subscribe to the podcast, follow the Swell Pod on social media, and subscribe to your YouTube channel at, you guessed it, the Swell Pod.
This is interview 60 of the Kiln Road Trip, and today we're at Kiln Meridian in Idaho talking with Reese Phillips. Reese is the owner and founder of Preferred Senior Benefits. Preferred Senior Benefits is your local, family-owned, and independent score of expert Medicare plan advice. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. We hope you enjoy. Yeah, thanks for joining us on the Swell Pod for the Kiln Road Trip. You are one of the 100 people that we're going to be interviewing, the pleasantly rebellious people. So,
Nice.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Absolutely.
If you could, for our audience and our listeners, could you just tell us what you do? Tell us maybe why you're passionate about it.
Sure, absolutely. So once again, my name is Reese Phillips. I'm the owner and founder of a company called Preferred Senior Benefits. We're an independent Medicare advisory firm based here in Boise, Idaho. But because of Kiln, we also have an office in Salt Lake and an office in Los Angeles. We're an independent Medicare advisory firm. So what that means is we have a team of agents and staff that helps mostly seniors with their Medicare health insurance. I'm passionate about that. And I started the business about, 6 or 7 years ago because my grandfather, who raised me and who I'm named after, was taken advantage of by somebody in the Medicare space.
No.
My grandmother thinks it cost him about 3 to 5 years of his life. So when I found that out, I just sold my last business. I was actually looking at buying some Subway franchises. Thank the Lord I did not do that because COVID would have probably bankrupted me. Yeah. And have been doing it ever since. And I'm passionate because, the senior population is some of the most underserved people in the country. And, they've built what we have now as America. So it's important to me to make sure they get taken care of in an industry that sometimes takes advantage of them.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really amazing. I think that's a great pursuit.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, I don't know where it was. It might have been Salt Lake. It might have been Lehigh, but I think I talked. So you have agents down there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure I've talked to one of your agents and they told me about, kind of what they do. And I think that's very interesting that now we're running into you and we're talking to you about this. So I guess that's Kiln for you. But
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. Kiln is just such an amazing environment. I'll share a story with you guys if I can.
Please.
So you guys had a pop-up with a local non-for-profit 3 weeks ago. It specializes in helping adults with disability get jobs in the coffee space. So it's like a coffee travel bar. Well, I actually was helping the founder up the elevator here about 3 or 4 weeks ago. They got set up. I bought myself and my wife some coffee. We just started chatting. And the majority of her employees are disabled, which means the majority of them are on Medicare.
Mm-hmm.
So even though 95% of our clients are seniors, we still have about 5 to 10% that are on disability. So we actually had a chat this morning. We'd scheduled it a couple of weeks ago to now we're going and helping her employees with their Medicare reviews, but also the whole community that she serves.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because once again, Medicare is a very confusing and boring thing that no one likes to deal with. So we're going to be able to serve and help them through the relationship we built here because the amazing team here that Kiln has locally does such a great job of finding local sources or local people that we can chat with, support things like that. So that's just a cool Kiln story that literally just happened 2 hours ago.
Wow. That is really interesting.
Yeah.
I'm interested in, so as it relates to your business, so tell me again, when did you start it?
Got to been 6 or 7 years ago now. It's been a while.
Okay. And so I guess what are some of the bigger challenges that you faced as you built your business into what it is today?
Ooh, that's a great question. What have been my biggest challenges? Well, I think ultimately getting down a consistent process that's duplicatable is always an issue or a concern, number one. Number two, when you're dealing with the senior population, trust And leveraging technology may be a very difficult thing to understand or for them to want to use. And we're very much a technology-based business. We really leverage technology and systems and processes to be very successful. So I think those would be probably the two key areas, is figuring that out. And then the last one, which I think most businesses go through, is finding human capital. So finding good people to work with that care about what they do, that are willing to build a business underneath our umbrella. Because all of my agents outside of my support staff are independent business owners. They fall underneath our umbrella, similar to like a franchise model, like a McDonald's or something like that, but they're still building a business. And not everyone is designed to be an entrepreneur. It's not made for everybody. So, finding the right type of people. Now, I've been very blessed to work with a group of people that are amazing. But, for every one person that we have that we bring on that's awesome, I've interviewed 10 or 15 people that have been referred to us that just didn't make sense at the time.
Yeah. Could you? Yeah, I really appreciate that answer. And could you just help demystify the process? Like, what is it like? Because we don't think about this until we have to think about this. And can you just help demystify the process from a customer standpoint as it relates to interacting and working with your business to help them in that moment?
Absolutely. And that's a great word. I haven't heard that word in a long time, so that's a good one. So the whole cloud of mystery around the Medicare process is that it's very confusing. You have to do certain things. There's certain timetables. And there is some truth to that, but realistically, the process is very straightforward.
Okay.
When you turn 65 or older and you no longer have insurance through your work, you have an option to get on Medicare. Medicare is a federally backed insurance program for seniors or people on disability. Plain and simple. There's two parts of Medicare that is formulated from the federal government, Medicare Part A and Part B.
Yeah.
You have to sign up for that through the federal government. Plain and simple. There's nothing we can help you with in regards to that. Basically, that covers about 80% of your hospital and your medical expenses. The other 20% you're responsible for. There's no drug coverage. There's no dental. There's no vision. There's no hearing. The scary thing about that 20% is there's no max. There's no maximum out of pocket. So if the bill at the doctor's office is $100, no big deal. Medicare pays $80, you pay $20. The bill's $1 million, right? $200,000 is what your responsibility is. So that's where we come in and we help our clients understand the two primary options to buy supplemental insurance and the pluses and negatives of both of those. We really go through who are your doctors, where do you live, what prescription drugs are you on, what pharmacy do you go to. And once we have that data, we can implement it into our technology, and the technology will give us the data points. Here's your cost, here's your expected cost, so on and so forth. But just like any other business, the values and the details and understanding, just because this says it's this expensive, what's the potential of actual risk? I used to run a large bank here in Idaho when I was in my 20s, and I came to the mindset of I'd rather prepare for the worst case scenario and hope for the best case than vice versa. Because if I'm preparing for the worst case and it happens, at least I'm prepared for it. So that's how my agents and my whole company runs when it comes to educating our clients. Because if they understand the potential risk, then they can decide which route they want to go. And ultimately, that's their choice. Because there's no way in a 2 or 3 hour meeting, we're going to know everything about somebody. It's just not possible. But, I like to say, here's the red pill, pluses and negatives. Here's the blue pill, plus positives and negatives. You make your choice. And then we'll be there to support you for the rest of your life.
I really appreciate that. Thank you. That helps.
Tell me a bit more about the technology that helps you. It sounds like internally you certainly utilize it to address some of those challenges you face with the processes, make sure it's efficient and consistent. From the patient or the customer perspective, do you sit down with them and utilize that system with them? And how tell me about that.
Yeah, so the question is, how do we leverage technology client-facing? Is that accurate? Yeah, so first and foremost, this industry used to be done all at people's homes. You would go to people's homes, you'd sit down on their kitchen table with 50 pieces of paper, and you'd shuffle through stuff, and people would get really confused because it's confusing in general. And that's not how we do business anymore. COVID really impacted our industry being pushed forward. Because we represent a ton of different insurance companies: United Healthcare, Humana, Aetna, Blue Cross, Pacific Source. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And it forced them to understand that it is now the new age of technology, and we have to be able to leverage that. So from a client client-facing perspective, we'll call one of my assistants, we'll get somebody scheduled. We'll send them a jot form to fill out the information of who are your doctors, who are your drugs, all the relative information. We'll then upload that into our system that does the quoting for us. Then when we sit down with the client, we can review everything in real time, make real-time adjustments, and they can see real live numbers on if a doctor is in network or what a drug costs at Walmart's pharmacy versus Walgreens pharmacy. Huh. You'd be amazed the difference in price depending on the pharmacy you go to, and people don't realize that. Then from there, we can have them do the application all digitally in front of us, sign it on our computers. We can email everything to them so they have a digital copy. The application's automatically sent over to the insurance companies that do the underwriting for the plan. Then from there, the most important piece, at least in my view after that, is keeping in front of our clients to make sure they understand how Medicare is changing on a consistent basis. Depending on the data points you look at, 10 to 20% of seniors, once they get on a Medicare plan, review that Medicare plan again. So 70 to 80%, or maybe 80 to 90% is a better term, never look at the plan again until it's too late. That's what happened to my grandfather. If he'd have simply looked at his Medicare plan every single year, potentially he'd still be around, but he just didn't because no one prompted him to do so. So we'll leverage that technology to send out monthly newsletters via text message or via email. My team has an internal CRM system where we're managing phone calls, notes, text, all these different things for our clients. And we're able to get them that information out there in an efficient manner that's easy for them to track. Medicare in general is confusing, and you have so many different pieces that correlate with it. If we can make it as simple as possible, then we've done our job.
Yeah. And what's the vision going forward then? What are you trying to accomplish a couple of years from now? Because it sounds like you've done an incredible job. Yeah, where do you see it going?
Well, that's a great question, and thank you for that compliment. The question is, or I guess the answer is, we're not sure. Originally when I started this business, I found out what happened to my grandfather. I wanted to make sure that never would happen again, and I just started the business. My wife supported me. She was an executive for a financial technology company here in town, and now it's blossomed to where my wife works with me full time. We have 6 agents, a support staff. We have offices in 3 states, and we service clients in 17 states. I don't know where I want to take it. I gave up on the concept of focusing on making money as my primary target years ago, because I feel like if you're passionate about something, the money will come. And that's definitely been the case. We've been very blessed in the businesses that we've built. But at this point, I'm going to take it one step at a time. And we're not actively recruiting people, but we're getting a bunch of people referred to us because our business is very unique in the sense that it's a commodity, something people have to have. Most of the products that we sell have very low to no monthly cost, which is very unique. And it's a residual income business, right? So when you sign up a client, majority of the time, if you do your job correctly, they're not going to leave you. And you build up a business over time that becomes pretty lucrative. And it's something that actually helps people. Unlike if you're selling, I don't know, like annuities, for example. Annuities may be the right thing for some people, but probably not all people. But Medicare, one of those 2 options is usually the right course.
So when will you know then?
I don't know if I'll ever have an answer. I think we'll just continue to grow and go down that path. We have 2 beautiful young children, one's 6, one's 2. That'll dictate a lot of what we do as far as, ability and effort. I'm my wife would argue, I'm a lot of a workaholic. So I love being active. I love doing what I do. I've built multiple businesses before. This will be the last business I ever build because I promised my wife that would be the case. So, I plan to do this. I turn 40 next year. I plan to do it for at least another, my oldest is 6, my youngest is 2. So at least another 16 years. And then who knows from there.
Interesting that you don't always have to know. This big, you're already pivoting. I can see that you've got to this point where you already had to pivot and see what's happening, see where the demand is, and you've provided the service, and you don't need to necessarily have this completely different vision or whatever. I like the fact that you're content with that.
Before we get into the rest of the episode, we want to thank the partners and sponsors who made the Kiln Road Trip possible. The Kiln Road Trip is brought to you by Kiln. Kiln is a boutique co-working and flex office community with 13 locations in 6 states across the West, dedicated to providing innovative workspaces that empower your team to thrive. Whether you're a solo visionary or an enterprise-level team of up to 100, Kiln transcends being merely a place to work. It's a hub for learning and connecting with like-minded professionals that will make you and your team love where you work.
And if you haven't stepped foot inside a kiln yet, you really need to. On this road trip, we visited every single location, and trust us when we say once you see these beautifully designed spaces, meet the talented team, and connect with fellow members, you won't want to work anywhere else.
Locations include Utah, Colorado, Idaho, Oregon, California, and Arizona. And they're growing too, with multiple locations set to open in 2024.
Yeah, so be sure to check out the kiln locations nearest you by booking a tour at kiln.com and answer Swell in the question, how did you hear about us? Once you complete the tour, you'll be entered into a competition where you could win a 1-year membership, their club membership at Kiln.
Yep, you heard that. That's kiln.com, book a tour, and be sure to mention Swell in the question, how did you hear about us?
The Kiln Road Trip is also brought to you by Moterra Campervans, a luxury campervan rental company for iconic road trips. Their top-of-the-line vans are available at 7 locations located near America's best outdoor adventure destinations. They have consistently earned the highest customer ratings in the industry, making Moterra Campervans your gateway to adventure without sacrificing on comfort or service.
That's true, and initially we wanted to take this journey in a 1960s VW bus, but thankfully we found Moterra instead. With 3 van options, we took the Pop Top Classic, which sleeps 4 and is best for those who want to maximize floor space and storage. This was critical for us because it needed to sleep the entire crew, we needed space to edit, and we were traveling with large amounts of equipment, luggage, and other goodies that we picked up along the way.
And this van took us through all 3,580 miles of the trip. Super comfortable and sweet to drive.
And actually, Moterra offers fully planned itineraries if you'd rather leave the planning to someone else.
Visit gomoterra.com/swell. That's gomoterra.com/swell.
This episode is also brought to you by Taurus. Taurus is leading the charge in home energy storage. Taurus makes it easy to achieve energy independence and a greener tomorrow. The Taurus station provides everything you need to generate clean power, efficiently store electricity, and easily manage your energy use.
And installing a Taurus station offers plenty of benefits, including save money on your electricity bill,
also ensure energy security with backup power during outages,
reduce carbon emissions with renewables.
You can also automate EV charging and HVAC systems with 100% renewables,
and enjoy unrivaled system monitoring and support.
If you like the sound of those benefits, get a quote to build your Taurus station in less than 30 seconds. Super easy at taurus.co. That's TORUS.co. Now, let's get back to the episode.
Yeah, in our industry, there's 2 ways to grow a business. Number 1 is hire more and more support staff and grow your book of business, which is very simple. That's what we've done for years. I have over 1,000 clients now. That's option 1. Option 2 is still build your own book of business, but get agents, teach them, educate them, and help them grow their book of business. All insurance, no matter what it is, home and auto, life insurance, annuities, all this different stuff, they're all built on like a multi-level marketing structure. There's overrides. It's the way it's always been. So it's just a different philosophy. And my thing is I get more enjoyment out of seeing somebody be successful and get out of the rat race than I ever will doing anything else, because we've built a process and a system where if somebody comes to us, I can guarantee you they're going to get down the right path based on their choices. So that piece is done. If someone comes to Preferred Senior Benefits, they're going to be on the right Medicare plan without question, because all of my team members follow the same process. It's pretty much bulletproof. So now that hurdle is overcome, what's the next? Grow a bigger internal business and find great staff and build up an internal thing here, or find the right person who wants to build a business, show them the process, show them the effort. Because it's not if you'll be successful in our business, it's how successful you be. The downside, though, it takes a long time.
Yeah.
Takes because you're building up a book of business. It just takes time.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of money in it at the front end. The money comes later on.
Yeah. That's great. Last two questions, I think.
We talked about Kiln.
Oh yeah, we did.
So we could probably go to
the last question. You want to do it?
Yeah, for sure. So in the podcast, we ask one final question to everybody just to get their thoughts, get their advice. What do you think it takes to create something that's never existed before?
In retrospect to Kiln or in general?
Sorry, yeah, we tossed Kiln's name into that. It's completely different from anything related to Kiln. It's just your thoughts on taking an idea and creating something that never existed before. You've created multiple businesses now, grown them, and yeah, I'd love your thoughts.
So what do I think does it take? Okay, I would say there's a couple key pieces. I think the first thing is you have to have the courage and willingness to fail, because you're going to fail a lot. I don't care how good you are.
Yeah.
You're going to fail a ton. So you have to be okay with that and understand you're not failing, you're learning, and you just have to keep pushing, right? Yeah. So that's the one. I'm reading a book right now by a retired Navy SEAL, and he talks about you just have to be consistent and go through that process. So understand you're going to fail. It's okay to take risks. Number two, I think would be finding as many good support systems as possible to bounce ideas off of.
Yeah.
Because ultimately you're limited to your own beliefs and your own experiences. So having resources you can turn to ask questions, get thoughts and feedback is really important. And it can be your family members, it can be your friends, it can be people in the business community, but finding key people that you can ask questions about and get their thoughts and then go from there. I'll give you an example. My first business I started was a property management business. My colors on that company were green and gray. They're my two favorite colors.
Yeah.
Well, come to find out after I sold that business that colors actually matter in your business logo. There's a reason why most fast food is yellow, red, things like that. I didn't know that until an advisor told me, your colors of your business logo and your business matter. So when we built Preferred Senior Benefits, we went with blue and gray because those are trust colors, right? That's the general color scheme of people in our industry. So I would never have known that because that's not my background. So having the ability to fail and make mistakes, number one, and then having a support system to give you real honest advice, even if it's, hey, this is dumb, would be the two key pieces I would have.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of the Kiln Road Trip. Be sure to follow along on the rest of the journey, and you can do that in two ways. One, subscribe to the podcast, whether you're listening on Apple, Spotify, or maybe even watching on YouTube, and follow along on all of our social media platforms, whether you're on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or TikTok, @the Swell Pod. Thanks again, and we'll see you in the next episode.